Hi everyone, this is Prakash and I'm explaining about week 3, which is basically about virtualization, BPaaS, and scaling up the business. So let's start. So what is virtualization? So virtualization basically means that we are using one computer and we are putting multiple machines on that, which are like the virtual machines on it, and the machines either stay on top of it or are inbuilt on the hardware. So virtualization is so if I give one of the real example of virtualization, we can have a look on the apartment building we can have a look at the building, which is basically going to be one computer, and there are multiple apartments in it, which can be considered as multiple VMs there. So multiple things can stay at the same building. So that's virtualization, and this will help us to save the cost, save the storage, and many more. So I'll move on to the next slide, and we'll also be discussing about hypervisor on this slide. The what is hypervisor? So hypervisor is like basically like a manager, and without hypervisor, the virtual machine doesn't work at all. So why is hypervisor needed? Because hypervisor basically allocates resources and manages processing, storage, and everything. So we need a hypervisor. So if I give you a real life example of hypervisor too, so as I earlier mentioned about the building, so if there's a manager allocated there, they're gonna allocate room to each and every person individually so that everyone is separated and everyone gets their own space. So hypervisor is a manager, so it manages virtual machines, it allocates resources, and there's something written as type 1 bare metal and type 2 hosted. So these are the type of hypervisor that I'll be explaining later on, and the third one and the other one is isolation and security. So if we have hypervisor, the whole system is isolated from each other. So even if we are using a VM and there's multiple operating system, everyone is independent on their own way and secured. So I'll move to the type of hypervisor. It is bare metal and hosted. So bare metal is basically like you have your VM directly installed on your hardware, and type 2 is hosted, which basically runs on the hard of like on top of the operating system, such as virtual machines, as Oracle virtual machines, and many more. So this can also be considered as the type of virtual machines on basis of their placement or working principle, this bare metal and hosted. So I'll be moving on to the next slide, which is basically explaining about the scaling methods that we can use on our business. So what is scaling? Scaling is like just increasing the performance and maybe storage and many more. So what is horizontal scaling? So horizontal is basically like a line, straight line, and then if we have multiple servers on the whole system, this will help us to create like the it will help us to increase the availability of the data, and this is mostly used by Google, YouTube, so that their data is not just centered on a particular location but is distributed from. And horizontal scaling basically helps us to do the same thing, and this improves availability, as I already mentioned. And let's move on to the next one, which is vertical scaling. So in vertical scaling, it is basically used to increase the CPU and a RAM. So if we have a server inbuilt in our company or an organization, if we add, suppose the RAM is 8 GB on my laptop, and if I increase that to 16 GB and I increase my processing rate, I change the chip chips of and Intel and upgrade it to another level. So I'm just increasing the storage of my computer, not basically like just scaling up. I'm scaling up in a way that I'm increasing the efficiency, storage, and many more. But this is basically not much appreciated as if we compare it to the horizontal scaling, and these are basically limited by hardware. So if we need to save the cost of a company, we will have to follow the vertical scaling because we don't have much amount or sum of money to expand and add different physical hardwares, build another servers and many more. So let's go on to the next slide, which is basically explaining about BPaaS, which is business process via cloud. And we can just say it business process as a service as well. So on BPaaS, we do business processes by using the help of the cloud. And suppose this can be managing HR, payroll, accounting, and BPaaS is basically a subscription model. It's not like you'll have to buy the software, but if you if you use the services, you'll have to pay on the monthly basis. It's like pay as you go model. And then it basically needs internet access, and it is not that expensive because you don't have to keep someone to manage the whole system. The BPaaS like business processes will help us to manage it themselves. Suppose if I there can be like payroll system, and I can just have a look on the payroll, and I don't need to buy the another payroll system or software to check the payments and to do the payments of the employees. I can just use the BPaaS, and I don't need to think much because they are gonna be processing everything and then gonna be supplying or like crediting the amount into the employer's account. So the next slide is about service orientation. So service orientation is like a combination of different service together to work in an efficient manner. So what is standardized services? So as the name suggests, standard. So while mixing up different services together, there needs to be a standard that always needs to be met by everyone so that they comply the rules, regulations, and many more. So this will help us to create the standardized services. Moving on to next, which is loose coupling. So if suppose if I'm just logging into the Ken's account by using my student's email, so there can be multiple options such as Moodle. And if I go on login screen, there can be staff or students or maybe someone new and many more. So suppose if I'm getting into some Moodle or some courses that I'm currently doing, and if I get back or if I just cut off the service that I'm currently using, which is basically Moodle, if I cut the Moodle service, I don't have to I don't get logged out instantly. So this is basically like loose coupling because I didn't use one service, but still I'm using the other service, which is basically logging onto the Kent student email account. So the last one is service reusability. So even if I have um, my Kent's email, I can use it on a multiple platforms, such as maybe I just use the email to email like to mail my teachers, which is one use, and I use the same email back again to enroll into my courses. And the third one is to do payments as well. I can use my Gmail to do my payments. That's the service reusability service that is based on the service orientation. That was it for week three. Everything was summarized. Everything that we learned during this week was basically like service orientation, BPaaS, the scaling of the business or the cloud. You can just say it as a business or cloud because it's basically a business that we are doing using a cloud. Um, and we also learned about virtualization and using VMs and the types of virtual machines. Thank you.